How do you tell all the great banjo pieces apart? By their names. Okay, so this is going to be a video on how to structure practice sessions, and I'm kind of in unexplored territory here because I don't really have a problem with sitting down and knowing how to practice things. It just kind of comes to me because I've had a lot of good teachers, especially when it comes to music, in the past. But my health teacher in middle school told me something that I've never forgotten about practice, which is the statement that practice makes perfect is wrong, or at least it's not all the way right. His preferred way of saying it was perfect practice makes perfect, uh, and that is absolutely 100% right. You if you practice things the wrong way, you're going to get that ingrained in your mind, and then when you go to actually do them, you're going to have those mistakes in there, and that's what you don't want to do. You want to practice absolutely perfectly so that you can perform absolutely perfectly. uh, and that applies to music a lot. uh, so I'd say I'm going to say four of the important ideas I want to get across in this video are uh, practice as often as you can stand, and that'll make more sense as I go along and explain that one. So practice often, because little repetitions throughout the day are way better than 3 or 4 hour sessions twice a week. You will get so much more out of like 10 or 15 minute practice sessions once a day or even 2 times a day, right? Uh, the other one is listen to people that play this kind of music. Listen to old time musicians and folk musicians and good clawhammer players. Just a few names are off the top of my head are listen to Tommy Jarrell, Clarence Ashley, he is sometimes called Tom Ashley, Tommy Jarrell, Clarence Ashley, um, Eva Davis, Samantha Bumgardner, and Grandpa Jones and String Bean. Fantastic players. Lucas Poole as well. The Ozark Banjo Company, they have some really good videos. I'm trying to burp, but I can't. Anyway, that's important. The other thing that's important is don't get paper trained. Um, and I know this from experience playing the trombone for so many years. It was only the very last year that I was playing that I actually started to memorize music. Memorizing music is so much more important than being able to, like, if you have it in front of you, it's just going from your eyes to your hands, and it's not in your brain at all. It's just going straight through, right? Um, that's very bad because when someone takes that away, suddenly you can't play anymore, right? That's not being a musician. That's just reading music, and that's don't do that. I said there were four important things I wanted to get across. I don't remember. Oh, okay. So there's this really weird phenomenon, especially when you're learning something new, but I've noticed it especially with music. It seems to trigger a lot more, which is uh, so the way I started learning this stuff is I started listening to folk music, and I was like, man, I really need to learn how to play that. I wanted to carry on the story. Uh, that my people, my town, my state, my family had passed on to me. I wanted to carry that on. So I got really interested in the music, and I was like, I need to learn to play it so that I can carry it on. And so whenever I would open up an instruction book and see a song that I knew, I'd be like, oh, I know what that sounds like. I can play that. Uh, so it's important that you're gonna get this feeling when you get good at it or find passion in a song that you want to play, which is you're gonna just some time throughout the day you're gonna be struck by this feeling of I have to play. I have to get my hands on an instrument. I've got to play it right now. Whenever you have that, seize on it. Don't push it away. Absolutely grab the banjo and start playing. And that's going to be really good for you because um, making yourself play is one of the worst things you can do. You don't ever want to be forcing anything that's supposed to be fun. The second thing is, and this kind of goes along with it, which is sometimes you're going to be playing and it's going to be frustrating and you're going to be making a lot of mistakes and it's not going to be sounding good. Don't play when you're like that. because, like I said, you'll be practicing mistakes. You don't want to practice mistakes. But then sometimes you will start playing and you'll be like, oh my goodness, the gift of music. It's amazing. And like you won't be making any mistakes. You'll be sounding your absolute best you've ever played. And it'll just be flawless and beautiful and it'll just flow right through you. And you'll be thinking, I'm doing amazing. I'm making some beautiful music. Whenever you have that feeling, it doesn't stay very long unless you know how to kind of ride it. Uh, Seize on that. Whenever you have that feeling and you're playing, don't put the thing down. Keep going, because that is when you're at your best, and that's what really is going to stay in your mind, because it's the most fun you're having, and you're learning the most whenever you got that feeling. So that's probably the most important thing to take away from this is whenever you get that feeling of I've got to play, go and do it. um, and then there's some things to avoid. Like I said, don't play if you can't play. If you're struggling to get something that you can do, it's like, man, I was doing this yesterday and it was sounded fine, but now it sounded bad. Go and eat something. I'm not kidding. Sometimes if you eat something and then come back 30 minutes later, it'll make a world of difference. Or go do something else, get your mind on something else, and once you're kind of mentally refreshed and not feeling as frustrated and ground down by it, come back and try again. That's really important. Um, and like I said, practice as often as you can as stand. It's best to practice once a day because your brain ingrains a lot of stuff in your memory as you sleep. And a lot of times, if you're just learning a song and you've got it, but you have to like think about it, uh, and you'll go to sleep and you'll wake up and you'll pick up your banjo and it'll just come right out. So it's important to practice every day because of that. Uh, but also, it's just important to practice as often as you can, as perfectly as you can. But don't ever make it a chore. If you make it a chore, you're going to get burnt out, and you don't want to do that. And some other things you need to avoid is you're going to find instruction online a lot, and that is absolutely wonderful. That is an invaluable resource. Being able to use the internet to learn music, that's fantastic. What you don't want to listen to are well, not listen to, because a lot of pretty much every instructor out there is just absolutely brilliant. But you don't want to listen to the guys that are like, "Hey man," and they all sound like hippies. Hey man, don't worry about how it sounds. All right, the way you're playing it sounds absolutely fine. And if you're missing notes and messing up parts of it and leaving out the parts that are hard, that's just the way you play it. It's your music. You play it how you want it. That guy, you don't need to listen to him. And you also really don't need to listen to the guy that's like, okay, this song was written 400 years ago. And the exact way that the composer wrote it out and played it the first time he played it is the only correct way to play it. Okay? If you play it any other way, you're not playing that song. You're screwing it up. There's people on both ends, right? Listening to either one of those is pretty bad. Too much chaos or too much order. You gotta find the way it sounds to you, where it's the same song and you can play along with other musicians, but also it's fun for you to play and you don't feel like you're copying anybody, right? Um, and that kind of goes back to don't get paper trained. Is don't always follow a style. Like if you hear somebody playing something, you're like, I love the way that sounds. I'm gonna play it like that from now on. Wonderful, but don't become a copy of, Tommy Jarrell. You don't want to play everything like Tommy played, exactly like Tommy played, because then it doesn't sound like you. It sounds like Tommy, which Tommy's amazing. So you do want to sound like Tommy to an extent. Uh, that's pretty much the most important things I could tell you. Um, and just don't quit. A little bit of gumption and determination goes a long, long way when it comes to learning something as easy as playing a stringed instrument. A lot of people, there's a lot of kind of mysticism around musicians and instruments, and I used to feel that same way to some extent, but it's really, it's probably one of the most human things you could do, and probably one of the most culturally important things you could learn to do is play an instrument, and it's really easy because anybody, babies and even animals know when things are in tune or out of tune, or if a rhythm is been sped up or slowed down. It's a very, very natural thing to play and listen to music. So um, that's really all I can say. I'm kind of rambling now, so I'm gonna get on with it. But really, pay attention to the things I said. Just to recap, whenever you got that passion in you, seize on it immediately and don't quit as long as you got that feeling. Um, do not get paper trained. Do not overread music. Look at it, put it down, play it, memorize it. All right. However you got to memorize it, memorize it. Uh, and don't stop playing it until you get it perfect. And then once you get it perfect, get it better. Um, and listen to some of the better players out there that are really old. Like I said, Grandpa Jones, Dave Macon, Clarence Ashley, Eva Davis, Samantha Bumgarner. That's 5 that are easy to find and sound great. Um, and that's really all I got for you. So I'll see you next time, where I will be going over, I think, Groundhog. I'm going to do Groundhog, Sugar Hill, Polly Put the Kettle On, Down in the Willow Gardens, in that order, I think. But anyway, next time.